House podcast. And
Hi.
How's everybody doing on a Wednesday?
We're good. And we have a special guest.
Oh my God, I'm so excited for this special guest to be joining us today.
Yeah, let's introduce her.
Yeah, Connie Buna. Welcome to our show.
Thank you.
You are the managing broker for Keller Williams Realty VanCentral.
Yes.
And a Medallion Award
She's
winner
a top
year after
producer.
year.
She's an overall cool human being, broker owner.
Broker owner.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we did a deal a few years ago.
2 years ago, I think.
2 years ago in East Van. Are your clients still living in the
Yes,
house?
they are. They
enjoying
love
the
it.
house?
Yeah.
Okay, it was a really tough deal because I don't know if you remember the tenant that was actually living in the basement suite.
Never forget it.
I've never forgotten because
Did you have problems getting them out, or
No.
did they
No.
stay?
No.
No?
I think she was a hoarder.
Oh.
And actually, you didn't see the home before
Shoot.
we cleaned it out.
I know. Yeah, it was definitely one of those sort of sad moments, but
Oh.
yeah, no, you were a dream to work with, and
True.
your client was traveling. Remember traveling?
Yeah.
Your client was abroad, and we were dealing with elderly neighbor
Oh,
as sort of the intermediary between us and
Oh yes, he was
seller.
quite involved.
Very
It's good
involved.
experience, though.
It was great. It's a beautiful
And good practice.
Vancouver special.
No, it was a phenomenal deal we did together. You were very professional
Thank you.
and a pleasure to work with. Such a good role model.
Oh, thank you.
For me.
Right back at you.
So obviously we wanted to have her on the show.
cool.
Yeah.
How do you know Connie?
How do I know Connie?
Yeah.
Connie, how do we know each other?
I think we met. We've known each other for a good number of years,
Yeah.
but I think there's sort of a mutual respect and admiration
Yeah.
for we sort of recognize one another, women in business that are a little bit different, just working in a little bit of a different way, and certainly there's a synergy there. So I feel that way about both of you women. And Tony, I've been a fan of yours for quite some time.
I'm a fan of yours too.
Hey.
I consider you a good friend, and Connie's somebody that I really admire, just like you, in the industry, which is probably why we're all sitting here together. Very integrous.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And somebody that it's just nice to be able to, like, if I had a question about something, I feel like I could call you. You're very open and welcoming, and I feel like that's also the way that you run your real estate brokerage.
For sure. Absolutely.
So we have a whole, that's a perfect segue. We have a whole bunch of questions
Great.
that we're hoping our listeners are going to learn a lot from you.
All right.
And so do you want to get right into that?
Yeah. You're
Okay.
at 114 agents in your office and growing.
Mm-hmm.
How old is the business? How old is your office?
So September we had our 4-year anniversary. So
Oh, congratulations.
4 years running the brokerage, and it's been very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's located at Fraser and what's the cross?
And 24th Avenue.
24th Avenue.
Yeah,
Okay.
so East Van.
Some really good agents out of that office that I've
Great
worked with
agents.
before as well.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us how you started in the business.
Yeah, great question. So I've been in real estate trade for just over 10 years, and got my inspiration. So I've always loved urban design, architecture, building science. I have a highly employable degree in political science.
Oh, wow.
And so
That strikes some really interesting conversations with your clients, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so when I finished university, I had a long history in sales. And after I purchased my first home in 2004, my experience was positive. And I thought to myself, geez, I really enjoy this. And also, this person has not done anything that I can't do. And what does it look like if I were to take the leap and work on my own? At that time, I was working for a large corporation. I was working for Bell Canada.
Oh, wow.
And so it was sort of the mindset of flipping into 100% commission-based environment as a salesperson. At that time, I was in sort of a high level of corporate sales. I was earning a very comfortable 6-figure salary. And so that was a scary prospect. But I had the decision made for me when BCE, Bell Canada, the company I was working for, did a whole raft of layoffs, and I was in a management position at the time. And so I was kind of looking around the table at my colleagues, and I was very young. I had no family obligations. All of my colleagues did. And so when we were talking about that, someone on the management team was going to need to be laid off. I kind of put my hand up and said, I'm happy take that package.
She's just like that. She's just like that.
Well, I just thought, well, this could be a really neat opportunity, and from there, I did my licensing, and in fact, I did my coursework. I was in Ontario at the time, so I moved back from BC to Ontario,
Okay.
where I'm originally from, and had a little brief window of time while I did my coursework over that year. Through my layoff period, it was a real
Fantastic.
game-changing experience for me. And an opportunity then when I moved back to BC later on that year, directly after the crash of '08.
Oh.
Great time to get into the real estate
Yeah.
market.
It is though, because
It
you
is.
would have, you know,
I didn't
Gone
know
through
could
the
do any
toughest-
market now.
Yeah.
you don't know
That's the
what you
thing.
don't know.
Yeah.
And so I just dove in head first, and as I said, I'm not from BC, I'm not from Vancouver, I didn't grow up here, I don't have school
So no
friends
network.
or family, but I had my network of contacts with Bell Canada, which were some of my very first clients, were folks that I knew from that community, and also I had my friends and contacts from the queer community that I was building relationships in that community. It was still pretty early on in terms of my experience in Vancouver, but that's how it got started. And I think a little bit like how lots of things happen in my life, which is I stumble into them with like kind of blind optimism. Very much how I got into the brokerage business. Frankly, it was not my dream
She's got a strong mindset.
to open a brokerage, but I was like, I can do this. This seems interesting. And so here we
I
are.
love that.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the brokerage then, so how do you, I mean, you're a woman of many hats, so how do you balance your time between managing the brokerage, your own personal sales, and also, I am going to mention here, she's also a mom with a family. How do you balance all of that? What kind of
And
advice do
her
you have for
other
people?
side gigs.
Exactly.
that
We're gonna get
will
into that too,
definitely touch
all the fun
on that.
stuff.
Yes.
So how do I balance everything? I have, I'm not shy to say that I have amazing partners. So I have an incredible wife that offers me amazing support and love on the home front. And we have an amazing family support system. And I have an awesome business partner in Roland Kim. So in those two primary support people in my life, I think that we have developed a really great system of leverage. And so leverage is, that's a key word that we talk about a lot in business and certainly in real estate. And so I think that what I've started to embrace is that I don't need to do all the things. And that's a work in progress.
So
'cause
powerful.
I'm by nature a bit of a controlling person. A lot of us are that function at our level. And so where I'm learning, and I'm always learning, is what do I need to be directly involved in, and where can I lean into other people's expertise?
Yeah.
A really powerful thing I've learned through 2020 is the phrase, "Are you in your strength zone?" That's a conversation topic that I
Oh, I
have
love
regularly
that.
with my coach.
Yeah.
And so, in her assessment, and this has been written about and talked about, is if you're trying to do something that you're actually not really good at,
Yes.
it takes you extra long.
So don't do it.
Don't do it. How can you find someone else to do it and get really clear in the instructions? So
Yeah.
a lot of the balance comes from, I do like functioning at a pretty fast pace generally, and also I am not shy to lean into lots of help.
I love that you have
That's
a
great.
coach too.
Yeah.
Because obviously you're a coach to many, many agents at your office.
Yeah, for sure.
So what are some of the things that a lot of the agents are struggling with that you see this year so far?
Well, I think, I'm very sympathetic to mindset. And also in thinking about mindset, the idea of, the realistic scenario for lots of different people, that we're in an unprecedented time, and we're all getting sick and tired of that phrase, but it's so true. And also the idea that it's okay to feel down, and also perhaps don't let it dominate your life if you can help it. So that's one of the things that I'm really working hard with the folks that I'm connected to at the office, and from a coaching perspective, just trying to say, like, you can't do all the things, you can only control so many things. What's the one thing in your real estate practice that you can control that can directly impact your success? And very frankly, it's
Legion?
face-to-face, right? It's face-to-face conversations. That might look like Zoom in this day and age, but don't let off the gas on conversations with people in your world, because you might be filling your pipeline for 3 years from now, or it might be 3 weeks from now that you're going to be getting a closed transaction. And those of us in the business for a little while know that can happen
Just like
in a
that.
moment,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So that is a conversation regularly that we're having, and I think that once people got over the hurdle of the fear, those initial few weeks, even the first couple of months, and we settled into, okay, we're in this for the long haul,
Yeah.
and how do we make sure that our businesses are robust through this transition that will be many years long.
Do you find that most of these conversations are with the newbie agents? The
Newbie-
ones that haven't gone through the 2008 recession?
Good point. Certainly, because I think that that's the nature of our business. There's lots of attrition, and there's lots of people that are in the business for maybe 2 licensing cycles, so 4-ish, 5 years, and then they realize, you know what, it's a grind. It's not as easy as some people might make it look.
Yeah.
Tony.
Well, I don't make it look.
it's
I don't make it look
thing.
easy.
And so, yeah, I think that is a conversation.
Yeah.
Certainly with the new agents, we really huge focus of our brokerage is around training and educating and teaching our
Yeah.
agents good systems. And that's, right at the onset, that's contacts.
Yeah.
Get in touch.
I would imagine though that even for older agents, it kind of seems like you're going there as well. I mean, if you're used to doing business a certain way, it may be harder to transition to, Zoom calls, or how do I still get in touch with my clients? Normally, I would actually go and have tea with them.
Yes.
And people are not doing that as much, especially if they're a little bit older. So I
Especially
imagine that
when there's
everybody...
just one little change on a clause,
That's right.
everybody complains.
That's
Yeah.
right. No, but I imagine everybody needs support, no
Yeah.
matter where you are in your business, no matter how long you've been in the business, and it helps to talk about these things and feel supported.
Totally.
That's one way to accept and kind of figure out a new plan that's going to work
Yes.
for your business.
Yeah. And so long as those folks are open to a conversation
Sure.
and ready to step outside of the comfort zone and maybe do things a little bit differently, then, I have all the time in the world to have conversations about it for sure.
Yeah. So how do you split the workload with Roland and yourself,
Yeah.
like in terms of what your roles are in the brokerage?
Yeah, so Roland is called the operating partner. So in our franchise, the operating partner functions like the CEO of the organization. So he takes care of all of the interactions with our corporate franchise. He oversees all of the financials, and he certainly is a support to us at a sort of a high leadership coaching and
Roland's
counseling.
great.
He's
Love
awesome.
Roland too.
Yeah, he's awesome. And so that's a huge part of what he does. And then I take on sort of the lion's share of the compliance broker stuff, training and interacting with counsel, interacting with the board, and direct face-to-face agent correspondence. And
What's your favorite part of the job?
I love as a broker, I love the face-to-face. I am a people person. So I love the opportunity to connect with other realtors. I love sharing trade secrets. I love seeing and celebrating their success. Like that kind of stuff really fills my cup. Yeah.
Are you seeing more agents like dropping their license for this year and just kind of like giving up, or do you see some new agents coming into the market because they're seeing an opportunity, just like you did when you entered?
For sure. I haven't seen a dramatic loss of agent count. In our brokerage specifically, we see what I would say is normal attrition or turnover. We haven't had a huge influx of new agents specifically, but we're not, I wouldn't say we're directly targeting that demographic of realtor. We love all different types of agents. Our business model is such that we're very focused on trying to help someone who may already be in production get more efficient, get better, improve their numbers. I think that's our sweet.
And you guys
that's our
have
sweet spot.
excellent systems for that. Yeah.
And great training.
They
I've
do
been
have
to so many
Remember
classes.
I told you if Keller. So when I first got licensed, Keller Williams wasn't actively out here. I think they had just entered the Valley or something like that. But I had told Jenny, I said, if when I had become licensed, if there was a Keller Williams, I would have gone with Keller Williams because I just find that the agents, the people, the way that you guys work, it really speaks to me. I just have good experiences.
Nice.
Actually, I'm with a lot of agents at Oakland too.
Yeah.
Oakland agents are great too.
I mean, I think that over and above the brand experience,
Of
which
course.
I mean, we definitely feel connected to.
But it's the people.
It's the people, and I feel that way very much about your shop, and I feel that way very much about the leadership at Oakland doing an incredible job here. of setting the bar high and really walking the walk as it relates to both leadership as well as community engagement, training, teaching, inspiring, motivating, creating culture, all those
Yeah,
things.
absolutely.
Huge.
What would you say then is the most common question that you're getting from your real estate agents right now?
Fine question. They're so varied, the questions.
Yeah.
People really wanting to understand, I think, well, as we know, we just had a whole bunch of changes with contract templates. So
Yeah.
there's always just the refresher for folks around, slow down. It's our job to stay current on the changes that are happening as it relates to contract templates or systems or relicensing educational requirements. That's a very,
That was
very,
different
very
too.
common question.
Yeah.
Where agents don't understand the difference, for example, between what's required at the board level versus the council level. So lots of questions there. Lots of questions about whether or not there needs to be supplementary steps taken in response to or in light of COVID. And so we've had lots of conversations about, what our office protocols are, what direction we're getting from BCREA and the council and the board. So.
What's the biggest surprise of you being a managing broker that you did not expect when you signed on for this?
That's a good question.
I did not
Yeah.
expect how little agency responsibility business people would be taking in their own
Yeah.
understanding of their craft and their trade. That kind of stuff I have very little patience for. Yeah, just as a person and certainly as a broker, it's like I love to help you, and also I can just as easily have a look at the professional standards manual and find that clause. So go find that clause and then let's have a conversation about it.
Yeah, that's great advice. And a very good point.
So I sort of take a parental approach to that sort of experience, which is let me help you.
Yeah.
Like,
Then you can help
teach
yourself too.
Let me help you help
Yeah,
yourself.
yourself.
Like, let me teach you how to find the
Right.
right path. Like, obviously, as brokers, the last thing we want to do is have people feeling like they're alone. So you're certainly not alone, and we have an abundance of resources at your fingertips. And so if you haven't taken it upon yourself to actually go and look for it, then
Sure.
we're definitely going to hit the pause button.
Right. Do you think that's just lack of direction from when they get licensed because they didn't know there were resources out there, or just laziness?
It could be.
They just want the answers.
The truth is, when I think back on my own experience as a new realtor, and I think about how shy I was to ask my broker for pretty much anything. Like, I certainly was the opposite of what I can see some new agents be like. Whereas I would just figure it out. I would call a colleague and do my best to try to figure it out, because I would be so embarrassed to ask a silly question, which I'm not advocating. I think that it's important to ask the good questions, and I also think that the balance to that is it's important to make sure that you yourself are getting information, participating. Are you coming to the office meetings? Are you attending the weekly broker corner where I'm going through lots of these things?
Yes.
I post lots of videos on our internal channels that share communication. So have you done the step of looking at that first?
Yeah.
So this, good points. And this, I think, speaks to your professionalism and accountability.
Thanks.
You have very high accountability.
I mean, that's certainly something learned, and I have to give lots of credit to Roland on that piece. I've known Roland. We were in the business, kind of got in at the same time, and we'd always been kind of friends and support for one another. And one of the things that struck me about the way that he runs his life and his business is just how focused he is on his targets and his own personal accountability. So it's been a huge that's had a huge impact on me.
About personality styles. And what would you say you are, and what is Roland? We're just curious.
So you might be familiar with the desk profile.
Yeah.
So
That's what we talked about last.
Yeah. So I'm a high I. You'll be
Yeah.
shocked to know.
Yeah.
High I, high D. So but secondary D. And Roland's a high D. So with a little bit of like I and C, in there. So, so we function really, really well together as business partners.
Yes.
In terms of the compatibility of those personalities.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that so speaks to what we were talking about before, that there's not one type that is superior to the other. They balance each other out in order to form a great team.
That's why it's a pie.
That's right. It's a pie.
What do you predict for 2021 in terms of trends, the market, technology?
Good question. So, I mean, technology is a really, really prominent question, and certainly something we've realized is both a blessing and a curse in our business.
Yeah.
In terms of trends in 2021, like I'm a realist as it relates to looking at the landscape. So I think we have many more years of recession to come.
Yes.
I feel very optimistic. Another huge part of my life is my activism, and my core and fundamental beliefs in sort of anti-oppressive social justice principles. And so I'm genuinely hopeful that 2021 is an opportunity for us to make some systemic changes. And so as it relates to the real estate industry, wouldn't it be amazing if we can start to think about ways that we can help other folks get into sustainable and sustained housing that is separate from the real estate market, the ownership market. There is a balance there, and I believe that it's possible, and we need people to be on board.
Yeah, where does it start? Where do you think it starts, and how can everybody participate to get involved?
It's so easy. You just have to care. Every person has to care enough to say, it matters to me. Housing is important to me. Housing is a fundamental human right, and it matters to me at a municipal level, a provincial level, a federal level, and I make it known. And it doesn't matter what spectrum you are in terms of where you lean on the political spectrum. For me, I genuinely believe, and this is my approach in life, is I don't care who you vote for. It doesn't matter. We should actually all be working together. So, whether you're voting for Aaron O'Toole or Jagmeet Singh, we all, Aaron and Jagmeet, should be sitting down together, collaborating and talking about the ways that we can help all Canadians have basic human needs.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
Can I talk about dealing with housing discrimination with the LGBTQ community? Because I feel like there's just so much news articles and talk about how there's not a lot of buyers and sellers in comparison to like non-LGBT home buyers and sellers. Is that statistic true, or is that
in my personal experience, the vast majority of my clients are queer identified or from the LGBTQ community.
Yeah.
Very grateful for that support, and I love servicing my community. I have not had a direct experience where I felt that there has been any untoward dealing, and I feel as though when it relates to access, we have to be aware that as a demographic, the LGBTQ community, certainly as a demographic, is less advantaged than perhaps their straight cis identified colleagues, friends, community. And that's just for me a basic reality. BIPOC trans individuals, for example, are some of the most disenfranchised people on the planet, the most endangered, at risk of both harm as well as discrimination. And so I like to just go into those things with eyes wide open. I don't have an exact experience of there being, an incident of discrimination specifically, but as it relates to access to housing, I do think that there is something to say to, for example, we acknowledge that there's like a gender disparity in income, right? And so you might think that a family with two women at the helm of the earning potential might be less advantaged than two men. Peak earning power, cisgendered white men are sort of at the peak of the hierarchy as it relates to money and power. Indisputable facts. And so certainly there is a disparity there, right? They have just access to more opportunity, and therefore, and I think an easier road or path toward housing stability.
Why is it so important to you? Like, you're doing a lot of volunteering, so tell me what kind of volunteer experience you have with advocating all this.
So, I mean, I don't want to paint myself. There's so many more people doing way more direct volunteering work. I have two really small children, so my direct experience in volunteering has certainly gone down in terms of my time capacity.
But tell us what's out there, because then we can get involved.
And how can people get involved?
But like some of the organizations that I think are important to just pay attention to are, for example, like at the municipal level, there are a lot of amazing nonprofit organizations, like, for example, Rain City Housing, which is an organization that I've supported basically since the onset of my career, and organizations just like that, and so many more. For example, Wish,
Yeah,
which has just
which is
created a
good.
24/7 environment where folks can have safe access to housing and shelter.
Mhm.
It's specifically for like sex workers and women on the downtown east side. All of these organizations, I think, are, we can stand behind them and we can support them through our, through our dollars. That's one very, very straightforward way that we can support. And we can also support them through making it known to other decision makers in our environment and in our community that these are important organizations that require funding, that require support.
So having the conversations about it and within your own communities as well.
Within your own communities and also outside of your communities and any
Absolutely.
opportunities, even when it might feel like, oh, we're not supposed to talk about politics and you don't want to talk about, at the dinner table at Thanksgiving, for example.
I feel like it's an important thing though, in order
Yeah.
to bring the world.
Yeah, I think so too.
What do you teach your kids about that? Like, how do they get involved?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a great question. So my little ones are just under 2. Layla will be 2 in November and Maya will be 6 in January. So they're little ones. But we talk with them, like we've talked a lot about the homelessness crisis in Vancouver recently.
Yeah.
And it's amazing the questions that children will ask. So Layla doesn't have a ton of words, but mostly it's my 6-year-old asking lots of very good questions. Like,
What kinds of questions?
why?
Yeah.
Why does this person not have a house? Why?
Because
That's a
they
hard
don't
question to
understand.
ask.
Yeah.
That's a hard question to answer, and it's puzzling.
Yes.
And so we just try to talk more about that. Everybody deserves to have a home. Some people make a choice to be where they are. Some people have not made that choice, and unfortunately, they don't have the support and the care that they need. And we try to potentially use some more broad language, like maybe they're sick and they don't have the care that they need, and therefore they're in a really, really hard place. And we try to also model to them the degree of kindness. We for example, at birthdays we have 3 little jars. So we do like a coin style birthday party. So kids don't bring presents per se, but bring $1 for Mael to have a little gift, and then $1 for donation, and then she can choose where she wants to donate. So I mean,
instilling it from a
small
young
steps,
age.
small steps, and I'm sure there are many ways that I can learn, and I'm always open to learning more about
What do
ways
they
that we
love
can
to
that.
do? What do they love to do? Do they like sports, or do they love to draw?
They love to draw, so very, very, very much into the arts and like kind of artistic stuff. Layla's quite naturally very musical, so we do lots of like family band.
And you're musical.
Jams,
so-
yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Sure, love
Chorus
to.
Funk.
I want to see them live.
How old is the band? How long have you guys been together?
Just over 7 years.
Nice.
Yeah. And so band is called Queer as Funk.
Yeah.
And we're Motown, soul, funk.
Love it.
Are we going to
cover
hear
band.
something today? Do we get like a little bit of a glimpse of singing today?
I mean, that's a
Like
big ask here,
acapella?
guys. I don't
Come
know.
on. I don't have to put you on the spot or anything.
You're totally putting her on the spot.
Can I sing into this? I feel like I'll do
You
some
can
things
though.
with
Yeah.
You can though.
about
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Whoa, sometimes I get a good feeling.
Love it.
There you go. Yeah, that's fun. I've been in the band since the onset 7 years ago.
Where do you guys play?
So
in-
normally-
normally
When we play, we've sold out the Commodore Ballroom
nice.
a number of years in a row. So usually we kick off Pride, the Friday
So
of Pride.
awesome.
That's been an amazing experience. We've played sort of all over the place. Imperial Room, Fortune. We do lots of Pride stuff. So we played for various Prides across the province. We've done the Jazz Festival. It was an awesome gig. Sadly, we were supposed to do the Celebration of Lights this year and a Canada Day gig. So gigs will come back.
Eventually.
Gigs will come back.
These are good, really good jobs.
Yeah, for sure.
Those are good gigs.
Totally.
I remember the first time I saw a video of you up there on stage. I'm like, wow, this is so amazing, because our initial experience together was only real estate. I'm like, wow, she's very cool.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Do you play any instruments?
I play the guitar. I consider myself more of a campfire guitar player. So certainly not in the band, but something I can do. Yes. Yeah.
What's your most recent charity work with Queer as Funk?
Queer as Funk is super into advocacy and connection to our community. So a variety of organizations that we support. Last night we did like a live stream gig for BC Society of Transitional Houses,
Okay.
which is obviously an incredible organization that we've been able to partner with for the last few years. Usually we would do their annual conference, and so it's an opportunity for us to, at the wrap up of their conference, to kind of take it down a notch, because they're dealing with such high intensity issues.
Yeah.
And so it's
Lighter feeling.
Yeah, we can sort of break the ice, and they dance and we celebrate, and it's usually quite a joyful experience.
Probably not the same last night when you're in your own home and
we were live streaming from the training space in the office, but we've partnered with a number of local organizations, but
so you inspire a lot of people. So what's your biggest inspiration, and who's your biggest inspiration?
Oh my gosh, I have so many, but right now I'm really looking to some of the incredible work that's being done by sort of social justice advocates and activists that are active right now. So one person in particular, Leila Syed, that wrote a book called Me and White Supremacy, which is a workbook for addressing social justice and inequality, and sort of an acknowledgement of the existence of white privilege and white supremacy. So that was something that I worked with the band. We've been kind of working through this coursework for about probably over a year now. And so it's been very interesting through 2020. I feel like we've really sharpened the focus around racial inequality. And I feel so inspired that this is a conversation that so many different people are having. And so the goal, I think, is to take it further, right? Like, once it's out of the headlines and it's not cool anymore for corporations to post that Black Lives Matter, like, let's get real about that, what that means.
Take it to
Take the
action.
conversation further too.
Let's take it to the Canadian context, and let's address the profound inequalities for First Nations folks in our country. And so there are many local activists that I look to and feel very inspired by.
Well, amazing. You are such an inspiration.
Thanks.
So we're here with Connie Buna. She is the managing broker owner of Keller Williams Realty VanCentral. A lot of our audience members and listeners are real estate agents, and I think we should ask some specific questions about just like the business itself.
Sure.
Because I think there's a lot going on with the market right now, different from any other brokerage.
Good question. I think that a lot of it has to do with sort of the makeup. So our VanCentral brokerage is different from others in that I think you have an opportunity to have direct contact with the leadership at the office. We're a really open environment, and very sharing, and we certainly like to hold one another accountable. We have a weekly accountability group that we participate in with a lot of the top producers in our office. And one of the things that I've enjoyed about in production as well, so as a producing realtor, one of the things that's really impacted me through 2020 has been the opportunity to stay connected to these folks. So we do something called a 411 every week. And a 411 is essentially a weekly plan that reviews your annual targets, your quarterly targets or monthly targets, and your weekly targets. So what are your weekly targets? What are your weekly targets, and how are they feeding your monthly target, which is feeding your quarterly target, which is feeding your annual target? And we do that every single week, and every single week it's an opportunity for us to confront, for lack of a better word, our commitments with one another, and we can brainstorm. It's just the experience of sharing also, I think, has certainly impacted my year. I'm on trend to have the best year of my career, both in production and GCI. So I'm really proud of that, because it's been a strange year and it's been a hard year. And I certainly, I think I set myself fairly modest targets as far as real estate production goes, and I've hit and I'm trending above now my initial targets for 2020.
Congrats.
Thank you. So that feels awesome.
Yeah.
And it also feels like, I definitely I'm grateful for the accountability piece, because I feel like that has directly impacted my ability to stay on target.
Right.
Yeah.
So did you change it throughout like the second quarter, third quarter, or it's the same goal from when you started in January 2020?
Yeah. So I do my business planning in the fall or fourth quarter of the year before.
Yeah.
And so I set my targets in November, December of 2019. I set myself a unit target for personal production. I wanted to do 40 units of personal production. I wanted to do 10 referral partnerships. So doing referral business is actually a really important part of my business. And so that's supporting clients outside of my core territory. So ensuring that I maintain the relationship with that client and then connect them with an awesome realtor in that primary territory so that they can get that direct knowledge and also have the experience of my support.
Right.
So I'm on trying to just close we just closed our 7th referral partnership. So I have a target of 10. And then I had a GCI target, as we often do, gross commissions earnings. So I've achieved that target as well. So that, for me, I didn't adjust any of those targets, although that was a lot of conversation in the early days of COVID is, do we reset and should we? I think, Tony, in fact, we were on a call together when we were talking about resetting. And I was simply quite busy, and so I literally didn't have time to reset the targets. And I think that's just fine.
That's good.
What about for next year then?
Yeah.
Because we're in the Q4 now,
Yes.
so you would have done your business plan or been looking at it.
Yeah, I'm thinking a lot about my business plan. So I'm on trend for, fingers crossed, 50 plus units of personal production. And what I'm recognizing about that is it's too much for me to do and have a balance with my life. So the one thing that has really, one thing that's different is I'm not performing as much, so I'm not taking as much time away that I typically would in a regular year. I'm not connected as much to my physical well-being that I would typically like to do. And so what I'm realizing is, and I'm also not a hoarder by nature, I love sharing and I welcome it. So what we've done this year is actually we've built out our team and we're developing more support branches so that people can, the most important thing for me is that our clients feel cared for, supported, and that they have great advocacy and knowledge in their corner. And so we're building that out so that next year, ideally, my target will remain somewhat similar. 40 units of production was my target for this year, and I think that that's achievable for me. And any more than that, I feel is putting a little too much pressure.
So maybe just working smarter.
Yeah, working smarter and streamlining and increasing that referral target.
So besides you and Roland, how many others are on your team?
We have 5 other realtors on our team.
Okay.
Yeah.
And administration team?
3 admin.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the Keller Williams model.
That is leverage. Yeah. And we have an incredible team that we appreciate, that we pay fairly, that we adore and respect. And it's really, really important for us that we're in it together, that it's not only about us being superstars and making all kinds of money and doing all kinds of things at the direct expense of other people. We actually are trying to raise them up and make sure that we're staying
so much more
focused.
fulfilling.
Yeah, feels great.
Well, team culture is definitely, it'll help with the retention. Yeah. And get to enjoy everybody.
I think that's also why they don't have a super huge attrition rate. I would actually think that yours is probably a little bit less than the norm. And
yeah, I think we do have we have some really, really nice reasons why people stay. And I think that, when we have folks, and people move on to other brokerages for many, many reasons. I've been to many brokerages myself, and there are a variety of reasons. And so we do try to have a great conversation with folks at that exit interview time to say, tell us a little more. Could we have done something different, or is this more just a personal decision?
Right.
And at the end of the day, we respect it. We know that we're going to be in business for a very long time, and so we want to maintain those relationships. Yeah.
So we're here with Connie Buna, and we're going to start our 10 rapid fire questions. Number 1, what's heavily played on your music playlist right now?
Leon Bridges.
I don't know.
Look it up.
I will. I'm going to make a note.
Name one thing you've learned the hard way.
Letting things go. Letting go of control.
Yeah.
Letting go of control.
I still struggle with that
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Do you have advice for that then? How do you, literally, how do you let go? Or if something's not going your way, but if something was happening that was completely out of your control, had nothing to do with you, but obviously you want your client to be happy, something like that.
I'm getting better at asking better questions.
Yeah.
So asking the question to hear the response, not to form my next question.
Yeah, that's really smart.
One piece, yeah.
Okay.
Good one. What are 3 words to describe yourself?
Positive, energetic, and happy.
I could definitely feel that
Yeah.
energy.
I was gonna say loving, but
Cool.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a good
It's
one.
both.
Okay, that's 4.
I know, she has 4. You want me to? Okay,
Yeah,
you go.
number 4.
What is the best advice that you've ever received?
You got me on the blank. Can we ask the next
Yeah,
question?
let's do the next one and come
Okay.
back to that.
Describe your most memorable experience on stage.
Oh, gosh. Our last performance at the Commodore Ballroom, for our encore, we performed Freedom, George Michael. And we
Wow.
had some guest performers that came out on stage with us. We had an amazing a cappella group that was singing along with us. And the whole, it's such an iconic song. And we had the whole audience singing with us. And it was just a super powerful moment to celebrate Pride and to think about the spirit of justice and fighting for all people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do know that song. I do. It's a great song.
I haven't seen you on stage, so do you have like an alter ego or like a stage name?
I don't have a stage name per se.
Or like, do you get into character?
Like Beyonce
I would
does.
say so. I
Yeah.
would say there's sort of an element of swag
Yeah.
that occurs when one is on stage. You sort of get into the zone a little bit, and I can be quite playful with my kind of front person. Jocelyn is my counterpart, and so we do have a nice fun banter that we get into.
How many members in the band?
We're an 8-piece band.
Oh,
Wow, that's
full-fledged.
full-fledged.
Yeah, like what?
So
instruments
we've
do you
got 2 singers, we've got a keyboard player, bass player, guitar player, horns, drummer.
The whole
obviously.
shebang.
Yes.
Percussion is the most important.
Yes.
And do they all have jobs as well? Like, or is this their?
Many of the other musicians in Queers Funk are actually working performers, so it's been a very hard year for the arts community and for artists and musicians generally. It's been quite, and I think also just people like this is our lifeblood for folks that do this for a
Yeah,
living.
I
Mhm,
want
for
to
sure.
thank them for entertaining the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially live stream last night. What is your most defining moment in life so far?
Oh, defining moment, perhaps as cliche as it might sound, it's sort of the birth of our first child and that like huge life shift. Like, wow, I have something bigger to live for.
Yeah. I don't know how that feels. I know.
It made me
So
want to be
can
an
you
even
comment
better
on that?
person too, for
That's
sure.
huge.
But you wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
Like, you just want to do everything integrous all the time. Like, it wasn't like it was different before, but you're more mindful too of the things that you're saying because they're like sponges.
Yeah.
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 Where or who do you find inspiration?
I
answered this.
I really I follow lots of like powerful, motivating thinkers. I'm trying to focus myself around like seeking positivity, and so there's lots of people out there that I think are doing really wonderful, amazing things, including people like at the Canadian level, at the local level that I think are like inspiring leaders. You know, I love Jagmeet Singh. I love Christine Boyle in City Council here in Vancouver. I think she's an inspiring leader, and I just love supporting her and everything she's doing. So at that level, and then beyond, there's so many people that are doing incredible things.
Were you into this like before real estate? Like the love of like supporting social housing and
It's
community involvement?
Yeah, I think it's definitely, I don't know that it necessarily directly relates to my path in real estate, but it certainly has been an awakening for me in the last probably 7 years. I think a lot of it actually has to do with the band, in fact, and some really powerful conversations that we've had with our community members where we've been, the phrase called in. So called in around acknowledging the music that we play, which is predominantly Black music produced and performed by Black artists. And we were at times very much a white presenting band. And so we had some really powerful conversations about that piece of social justice. And then I think that really definitely is something that becomes
Profound.
like a rhizome of other things. Yeah.
I love the intentions there.
I know, me too.
Yeah. What has the pandemic or 2020 taught you the most?
I think it teaches us that what we need and where we need to focus our energy is actually quite local. So I think it teaches us that the pandemic has shown us how we have control over our local environments. We can make changes. Things are not always as they seem or set in stone. Think about the business models of airlines and travel companies and those folks that I think they could never fathom that their world would be so dramatically disrupted.
Right.
Yeah.
And so 2020 has been a real eye-opener to think about that your family, your health, your well-being, your home, these are some of the most important things in your world. And those things are, again, like, we're going back to like hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
These are basic needs, and these are the focuses. It shouldn't be on.
Think about the micro ecosystem, the micro.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I think we had that conversation too on one of those team calls as well. It was like, what's actually important to you,
Yeah.
and how can you, it wasn't just about real estate. It was questioning what you want to do with your life, how you want to be better, and how you want to be seen in the world.
Totally.
Yeah.
What are you most grateful for?
I'm super grateful for, I think, I just feel very, very privileged for all of the abundance that I have in my life. I feel hyper aware of it. And I feel really, really grateful that I'm able to do what I do, and that I live here, and that we get to experience such a beautiful, not just a beautiful environment, but also a beautiful community of people. I'm definitely someone that believes in the good of humans. And so I think that I feel very grateful for all of the wonderful work that people are doing around us, and want to amplify their voices and their experiences for sure.
Yeah, it's very strong voice. And then you add 7 other
I
band
know,
members
right?
to that.
And
You
her-
guys
and
are
her community
creating
as
a
well.
riot.
Yeah, I know.
That's right. Rise up.
What's something new that we can look forward to about Connie?
Something new. What's new? I feel like I really am interested in getting more involved in direct coaching and training. So stepping outside of coaching and training in my brokerage and doing a little bit more with other folks. So that's something that Roland and I both are very actively working on right now.
Is there something specific that you feel when someone graduates or as soon as they get their license, we really need to create some sort of system or a program in place?
If I had to think about one thing, if I'm giving a realtor advice, what's the one thing you can do that's going to absolutely profoundly change your trajectory of your career? It's $1 saved is $1 earned. Watch your money, watch your budget, watch how you spend. It's funny how intoxifying it is, if that's the correct word. It can be for a realtor to get their first commission check, and then it goes into this black hole that is the single bank account, with no accountability on who else needs to take a piece of that, and planning. So that for me feels like a huge piece around where I'm hoping to develop my skill as a coach and a trainer, is really helping to impart some of those things that I learned the hard way over time.
I mean, I think we all have at some point.
That's one
Those
of the
are the hardest
pillars.
lessons.
One of the pillars is the budget model that
Exactly.
you learned as part of your business.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to go back to the last question?
Yes, what is it?
It was.
What was the best piece of advice you've ever received? Was it that one?
That's right.
Sure.
Good memory.
So I'm thinking about something that my coach just recently shared with me this past year, which was what I touched on previously. Are you in your strength zone?
Yeah.
Are you in a place where you can shine, or are you just spinning in a wheel? And I think that relates to relationships, that relates to your work, that relates to your other passions. Like, there are so many ways, our time is so precious, and there are so many ways that we can be, in powerful positions, in ways that are filling us up and making us feel really awesome. And so that for me is like a huge lesson. And that
strength zone.
That's a
strength
good
zone.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that, but
I've never heard of that
Strength
either.
zone.
So
I'm
you
happy to
learn
share
something
it.
new every day.
Well, yeah, especially when
Especially
we're
from
such a
Connie.
great guest.
Okay, well, is there anything else that you would want to add that, I mean, we've been asking,
Well, I want to know where can people find you?
Yes.
What are your
Yes.
social media handles?
Thank you.
Your band? Where can we look you up?
For sure.
Yeah, so Queer Spunk is the band. Online, Connie Buna, there's not too many of us out there, so you can find me there. And I'm trying to really dialed down on the social media,
Are you?
not be on it, in it all the time.
Get it, yeah.
You know, so it's, so connect with me on the old telephone. My phone number is all over the internet, and you can call me and I answer phone calls. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy we got to see you today.
Thank you for inviting me, and it's always a pleasure to see you both.
You're a beautiful human. Thank you.
Right back at you.